And yet we spend 99.8% of our time focused on surface level activities. And we spend very little time focused on expanding our spirit and aligning our subconscious mind and programming it properly in ways that we want. And so the last business that I ran, I really put those principles first. And we had a wild amount of success with it, to the point where we're in a position where I don't really need to work anymore, ever. And I can do something that I think is really meaningful.
Welcome to Think Business with Tyler, sharing our methods and strategies for success. Join in on our conversations with business owners as we highlight their triumphs and detail how they overcame the challenges they faced while continuing to grow and scale their business. It's time to think life, think success, and think business with your host, Tyler Martin.
Hey, thanks so much for listening. Today we've got Troy Lavinia on the mic. He's dropping wisdom on everything from smashing limiting beliefs to creating a dream work environment. Stick around and up-level your business now.
Hey, Troy, welcome to the Think Business with Tyler podcast show. How you doing today?
I'm doing great, Tyler. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're going to have a tough one here if I can't even get out my first sentence smoothly. So bear with me, okay, Troy?
Yeah, we're good. Let's do it.
Yeah, I want to learn a little bit about you. So if you could, tell me a little bit about what you do professionally, and then I'd love to also learn something personal if you're willing to share it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm an entrepreneur. I've been an entrepreneur for the past 14 years. Have a business that I started called Mosaic Research Management that does research for hedge funds and private equity firms. And that's a pretty small business, probably about $10 million in revenue this year, 30 employees, and started a subsidiary of that business called Stream Media Group and built and sold that business in 18 months. That grew pretty quickly. So we went from 0 employees to 150 employees and about 5 million in ARR within 18 months. And we're lucky enough to exit that business, sell it to another strategic acquirer. And that's been a pretty good success story for the acquirer and for everybody who worked at Stream and for myself. So that was that. And for the past 2 years, I've been working on a project called Daily SOS, which is really a meditation and visualization group for entrepreneurs and creators. So helping people connect with their life force and also rewire their subconscious mind to be more successful. And we do that in a daily huddle where we connect and we do a guided meditation together. And the whole idea is that you can accomplish quite a lot if you're shining bright and feeling good. And also you've rewired your subconscious mind to be in alignment with what you want, because a lot of us have old programs or subconscious blockers that are getting in our way. So no matter how hard we work, if we have old programming related to a lack of abundance in wealth or not being able to be successful, or how we manage people that are getting in our way, that are under the surface, regardless of how well we execute the business playbook, we're still going to be getting in our own way. And to help people clear out those blockers and become the successful self so that that can unfold for them in their life.
Interesting. Could you share something? I have a ton of questions just in that snippet you just shared with me. But before I go there, could you share something about yourself personally? Any hobbies, interests, family?
Yeah, so I have a wife. We've been married for 19 years.
Wow.
And she's also an entrepreneur. We have 2 kids. Our son, James, is 12 years old. Our daughter, Matea, is 7 years old. Live in New York City, also live in Sag Harbor, which is a small beach town out in Long Island. And my wife is also an entrepreneur. Kind of a cool fact is 2021, we were going for a walk around this neighborhood and we said, well, what are we doing? We've accomplished what we wanted to accomplish with these businesses. Why don't we sell them? She has a business, or had a business, that was in the charter school space. So helping charter schools develop their staff and curriculum. And she had grown that really quickly to a pretty big business. So we decided we wanted to sell our businesses. And then within 6 months, we had each sold those businesses towards the end of 2021. And headed into early retirement together, which has been a mixed bag. And so I quickly got back to work on this new thing, and she is, on the board and staying busy as well. But it was kind of cool. We both built our businesses over a relatively short period of time. We're able to exit them and able to create a lot of freedom for ourselves, which is nice. I think a lot of people are trying to accomplish that, so we want to help people do that as much as we can.
Does cash flow have you down? Profit not where you think it should be? Maybe it's the long hours. Let's meet to see if I can help. I bridge driving the financial performance of your business to hit growth and success targets. Book a complimentary meeting at meetforgrowth.com to get started now. Once again, that's meetforgrowth.com. I look forward to talking with you. And thanks for listening to the show.
I think a lot of people are trying to accomplish that, so we want to help people do that as much as we can.
Yeah, that really is cool. Do you guys, I don't get a lot where there's two entrepreneurs in the family where they're running their own businesses. Do you guys leverage off of each other as you were growing your businesses? What's that like?
Yeah, so I started my company first, about my original company, about 14 years ago, and that company is still running and running itself pretty nicely. And she gave me the courage to do that. She had a decent full-time job, and told me basically, if I keep complaining, I'm going to be complaining about this forever if I don't do it, and so I should just do it. And so I did that, and started my business. And then about 5 years, I started my business in 2010, and then 5 years later, she was in the same situation where she was complaining about her job and wasn't happy. And I said, well, you're not going to be happy until you start your own business too. So go for it. And so we supported each other in kind of taking the big step, because I think if your spouse is supportive of you and the numbers remotely make sense and you can afford to fail, then you don't really need to please anyone else except for yourself and your spouse, depending on how close that relationship is. So it can give you a lot of confidence. And then throughout the whole process, we would go for walks maybe once or twice a week and just talk about business. And we do really good thinking and decision making on those walks. And it gives you a lot of confidence to make decisions when you have a really sharp partner who understands business. And neither of us were entrepreneurs before we started our companies, obviously. And so we learned a lot along the way. But when you have an intelligent person who is your spouse or your partner, and you give them the situation and they help you talk through and make a good decision, and both of you, by the end of that walk, are really happy with that decision, whether it's to hire a certain important employee or to fire a certain important employee, or to, push more chips into the middle on a particular strategy or whatever it might be, you can execute that strategy or execute that with a ton of confidence, which I think really, really helps, because a lot of the reasons I think people aren't more successful in executing is because there's still a bit of ambivalence or clarity or decision making around the strategy that they're going after. Whereas if you talk to your partner, who's your spouse, and the only people you need to keep happy are the two of you, ultimately, then you can make decisions with a lot of clarity and a lot of decisiveness, which I think drastically increases your chances of success in executing those strategies. So we've done that since then, and just started doing it again, actually. She was less interested in daily SOS, which is the thing that I've been working on, but I finally just said, listen, I really missed talking to you about this stuff, and if you're up for it, I would love more of your help with it. So looping her back in on this.
That's so cool the way you approach that too, just to kind of, for lack of better words, get her permission to have those conversations. Sounds like you guys have a great relationship.
Well, no comment. Yeah, it's great. But we've been married for 19 years, and we could do another 4 or 5 podcasts about how we've kept that good and interesting.
Yeah, I hear you. I just passed 20 years, so trust me, I've got some more.
Oh, cool.
I've got some more wounds myself that I probably could
Congratulations.
relate. Yeah. But see, it's interesting. My wife is not an entrepreneur. And in fact, most of my listeners that are entrepreneurs come on, you hit something really important, is that oftentimes when you don't have someone that you can leverage off of, or you don't have someone that you really respect their thought process and how they solve problems, and they can help you with the strategy. A lot of business owners are in the dark a lot. What do you and I'd be curious in your opinion on your wife on this too. What do you consider like your secret sauce? Like, what are you really good at when it comes to being a business owner? And maybe if you don't mind, if you can just give me your opinion on your wife's kind of what she's really good at. I'd just be curious.
Yeah. Well, I would say, like, just really quickly touching on that one point of yours. Yeah, I think you're right.
Please.
Maybe what is it? 95% of people probably who are entrepreneurs don't have a spouse who's also an entrepreneur. But I would highly suggest, at least for a couple of months, try looping your spouse into your thought process and decision making. Just go for a walk together, explain to them what you're thinking about or what your blockers are in the business, and talk it through with them. And I think if you did that once a week for the next couple of months, report back to Tyler, and I bet you're going to have a remarkable increase in the amount of trust and goodwill between the two of you, and a ton of confidence in what you're doing. So I don't think your spouse needs to be an entrepreneur as long as your spouse is somebody who's thinking you trust, which they should be. So give that a shot. For me and my wife, I'd say my wife is, for both of us, we really care about the businesses that we're running, like the purpose of the businesses that we're running. And we really care about the people in our businesses and around our businesses. And so I think we approach business from an open hearted place that has been really beneficial for us and our employees and everyone who's worked with us. I mean, both of us sold our companies, and pretty much everyone we've ever worked with has, at any level, has reached back out to us and asked us, when we're going to do it again, which is really nice because whether it's vendors or colleagues, one of the hardest things to do is to get the right band together, right? Like, do you have the right bookkeeper? Do you have the right accountant? Do you have the right software developer? Do you have the right CFO? Do you have the right operations person that you really trust to run the business day to day? And if you're able, in a moment's notice, call those people and get them to work with you again because they love you and you've treated them really well, that's incredible because it takes a long time to find the right people. And that's been really nice. Um, I think what I'm best at in business is breaking the operations of a business down into processes, fulfilling the service, and also doing the sales and marketing. So creating processes out of those, and then finding people where there is a deep labor market who can perform those processes at a really high level of quality for a long time without them getting sick of their job. So, for example, within Stream, we went from 0 to 150 employees. Nobody left the company over a 3-year period, not a single person. I think a few people have left in the past year, but that's to be expected. And the company was acquired 2 or 3 years ago. And even nobody left throughout that acquisition and for a little while after. And it's because I found the right types of people to perform each of the different roles in the business. I broke the business down. I think we did a nice job of breaking the business down to 4 or 5 different roles that needed to fulfill different types of processes. We found the right types of people to perform those roles, for whom those roles and that responsibility was a nice stretch and something that they could do for a long period of time. And we treated everybody really well. And so they were referring their friends, and we were able to grow and hire that many people in a pretty tight labor market because anytime we wanted to hire, there was, people were beating down the doors to come work with us because their friends had told them how great it was. And so we can get into like the specifics of that and the different labor pools that we've tapped into that I would recommend. But I think that's what I'm best at, is creating processes and procedures out of a business, or breaking a business down into its core processes and procedures, and then finding the right types of people to fulfill those. And then also, I'm really good at getting out of the way. The way that I handle, as much of my life as possible is that the more indispensable I am, the worse the business is. Like, I need to be completely disposable in order for me to consider what I've built to be successful. So in my business, if it requires my oversight 12 hours a day, then I haven't done a good enough job of empowering the people who are running that business. And if my kids require me to watch them for 8 hours a day, then I haven't done a good enough job raising those kids and giving them, teaching them the right value system. So ideally, in your business and your parenting and most of the other areas of your life that aren't your recreational activities, you should try to make yourself as dispensable as possible at a certain point, I believe. I'm pretty good at that.
Yeah.
So those are the things that I'm good at. My wife kind of handles it in an opposite way. My wife is incredibly important to her businesses. She's incredibly smart, and she's like one of the most dogged, intense. One of the most loving, beautiful, like open-hearted, generous people that I know. And if you talked with her for 20 minutes, you'd laugh and you'd love her, and you would never think that she was a pit bull in business, but she absolutely gets after it. When she finds a problem, she doesn't blink until there's a solution for it. Whereas I'll tease it out a little bit and then I'll step away and I'll let it solve itself, kind of. So imagine if you had both of us doing the dishes and you had a pot that had a lot of stuff stuck on it. I'd fill it up with soap and water and I'd walk away for 8 hours and leave it. She would scrub it until until it was perfectly clean. And those are the approaches that we take to business problems as well. So she's an incredible problem solver. She's an incredible strategist. She's has an incredible emotional IQ, and just a great business person. If I could hire only one CEO of a small or mid-sized business, it would probably be her. But she takes the opposite approach. She's more hands-on than I am. And so it's kind of cool. We can balance each other out and give each other pretty good advice and recommendations.
That's very cool. So I'm definitely with you. I'm filling the pot with hot water and I'm taking off. And if I remember it, hopefully to finish the job later in the day, that's my goal. Hey, I do want to go back if you're open to giving me an example. You talked about, I loved how you said you're a processes and procedures person, and then you try to match the right person to that. Could you give me like a real example, assuming it isn't confidential, of
Yeah.
like a process and procedure, and then how you found someone, how you try to find someone that matches to that?
Yeah. So for one of the things that we need to do in our business, there's two really great talent pools that I've found that have been really good for us. So the first one, the role in our business is that we need to recruit industry experts to talk with our clients. So it's essentially like a very boutique headhunter where a client of ours might be a hedge fund analyst who's researching Nike because they want to make $100 million investment in Nike, the stock. So we might go out and find the former CFO of Nike who really understands that industry, who can talk to our client and help them understand that business without sharing anything confidential, but they can be like an advisor to our client. And so we'll need to find the right people. We'll need to cold call them, reach out to them on LinkedIn or on their cell phone and say, "Hey, would you like to be an advisor to our client?" And that recruiting call takes, 10 or 15 minutes to get the person interested, explain the full context of the project to them, to vet them out, and then kind of write up why we think they would be a good person to speak with for our client. And when we first started the business, and most of the companies within the industry, they're using recent college graduates from really good universities to do that job. And we hired a lot of those people. And what we found was that 22, 23-year-olds who have no other work experience are really taking a job out of school as a stepping stone And so they're really limited in how long they're going to stay with you. If you hire 10 of them, if 3 of them are still with you 2 years later, you'd be really lucky. Even if everything goes perfectly, they're great. All 10 of them are really great, etc. So you're really limited in the shelf life for the duration that you can have somebody in the role. And I think that's a huge factor for success. If you're trying to grow a business, you need to have the same people with you for a long time, the right people. And so that's limited. Also, they have no reference point. So if they've never had a job before, and which we tried to do, we gave them great benefits. We gave them tons of perks. We treated them really well, and they have no reference point. So there's just a default inability to appreciate that versus somebody who's worked 3 or 4 terrible jobs and they start working for us, they love us and they never want to leave, right? And so we deviated from what the industry was doing, and we started hiring actors and actresses and stand-up comedians because I think I had the idea when one of the head servers at a really nice restaurant in New York City, my wife were dining there, and I'm like, well, this person's great. And she's an actor, but she's doing this. Like, we could hire her to do, to recruit experts, because actors are really great at improv. They're really good at memorizing scripts. They're really charming when they want to be. They're very smart, intelligent. And most of them in New York City are working as baristas or wait staff or in the restaurant industry. And so they've cut their teeth in like pretty difficult industries for not a lot of money, not good benefits, etc. We could give them a better work environment, better financial stability, and more flexibility, and they would be great. And so we started hiring them, and it was a huge success. We would hire these creatives, basically writers, stand-up comedians, actors, and I'd even have a creative coach come in once a week to work with them, to help them with their creativity, which is a small expense when you think that people never leave. And they were great at the job. They never wanted to leave because of the flexibility and work environment that we gave them. And anytime we need to hire more of them, there was as many of them as we wanted to hire, because word around town was that this was a great job and a great place to work. So that was a huge one. So the idea is you take one of these roles, and if you're having trouble filling the role, or you're having trouble keeping the people that you've been hiring to do the role, like we were with the recent college graduates, don't try to push harder and make reality different than it is. The reality is the 22 or the 23-year-old who's never had a job isn't going to appreciate you that much. So don't whine about not being appreciated, and don't complain when they leave your job. Like these are just facts of life. That's reality. So if you want better employees, find a better labor pool to hire from, and look for that. And there's another example as well in the business, but that's one example. And something that I think is actually repeatable for any other businesses. If you're looking for people to do a lot of different things, actors, actresses, comedians.
If you're a business owner feeling stuck in your business, overwhelmed, responsible for everything that happens, and working long hours, Tyler helps his clients develop processes, hire high-performing team members, and better understand their financial metrics and numbers to allow for a more predictable, less hands-on business. To schedule a free, no-pressure consultation, head to thinktyler.com and click the meeting button. Tyler would love to see if he can help you work on your business, not in your business. Schedule a consultation today at thinktyler.com. Think life, think success, think business.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up during inflation, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See detail.
This episode is brought to you by Atlassian. Atlassian makes the team collaboration software that powers enterprise businesses around the world, including over 80% of the Fortune 500. With Atlassian's AI-powered software like Jira, Confluence, and Loom, you'll have more time to do the work that matters. In fact, Atlassian customers experience a 25% reduction in project duration per year. Unleash the potential of your team at Atlassian.com. Atlassian.
If you're looking for people to do a lot of different things, actors, actresses, comedians.
Yeah, it's funny you bring that up. So I used to be in recruiting and staffing, and I had one client who was looking for a presenter, and their whole model was around presentations. And they literally had no one that they could find, or very few people that had this skill set. And so we actually went to a local acting slash type agency that and for candidate flow, and it worked out really well. I mean, there's a little bit of a learning curve, but the person was phenomenal. They were very comfortable in front of people.
Yeah.
They could think on their feet. I never really thought about, interesting. I fell into the model when building a staffing and recruiting firm of hiring 22 and 23-year-olds. And my batting average, just like you said, was very low. Facebook, Apple, all those big companies would recruit them from my company, pay them a crazy amount of money. They had really no point of reference of what was a good experience versus what was a bad experience. So it's kind of interesting. You're right on in terms of, it's amazing how you kind of pivoted and found a pool of people. And then it sounded like once people started learning it was a great environment and they could refer other people, you had that whole trust factor going on too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as business owners, we would tend to complain about that. I know it was really upsetting to me when you're doing your best to create a great work environment and feel like people don't appreciate it. And you can complain about younger people and this and that and the other, but play in reality. And if the new generation of workers, there's a new generation every 10 or 20 years, they are who they are, and you're not going to change them. And so the more that you can work around that successfully, the more success you're going to have.
Yeah, no, that's a great one. Hey, I want to switch gears because I want to make enough time for this. So now I chuckled a little bit because you said, you wanted to retire early, and then now you're going into the daily SOS. So I don't know, maybe that is part of your retirement, or maybe that's feeding your soul. What is that about? And if you could share with me, get a little bit deeper in terms of what that's about and what's your business model around that?
Yeah. So as an entrepreneur, I found that I spent the first 7 years being as good of a student as possible on how to run a business, like what to do, how to do it. And if I downloaded 200 audiobooks and courses and coaches, et cetera, it was, 99% of them were about how to do certain things, which makes a lot of sense. But then I started hitting my plateau where, okay, I can't be putting more time into this business, can't be putting more heart into this business. And it's still not growing as much as I would like it to. I'm still not accumulating as much wealth as I would like to, right? So if that's what it feels like for you, that's exactly where I was, say 7 years ago. And what I started to do, instead of picking up another book about business, I started reading about the power of your subconscious mind and just how there are a lot of programs that we have that are running under the surface that dictate how we see the world, how we make decisions, and ultimately how life plays out for us. And if we have old programs that aren't in alignment with what we consciously want, the old programs are going to win every time. They're running all day, every day, even while we sleep, ensuring that your self-image, who you believe yourself to be, and your belief system, how you see the world inside, is reflected outside. And so if I have old programs that say, there's a trade-off between wealth and integrity, I can either be a really good person or I could be a rich person, or rich people aren't nice, or they aren't generous, or whatever it is, right? Like, these are old programs, and that's really, really common, right? For most people, they have that program, let's say, as an example. You can then, that's running inside of you at all times. You can work as hard as you want on your business, and you can read as many books as you want about finances and taxes, et cetera, et cetera. But it's going to be really hard for you to accumulate wealth and abundance and just have the type of financial abundance that you really want consciously if your underlying program is running that lack program consistently for finances, for example. But the same thing applies to how you manage people, how well your employees like you, how quickly your business can grow, how big it can grow, how successful you can be, how good your relationships are with your spouse and your employees and anyone else, right? So we have these old programs. We get them as humans because there's a certain set of programs that have kept us safe evolutionarily. And that general program says stay small to stay safe. Because historically, if you got too big or too bold, you would get eaten or killed before you mated, right? So there's a very strong program in all of us that says stay small to stay safe, whether it's your relationships, your business, your finances, your health and fitness, whatever it is. And there's other programs that you've gotten from your parents and from marketing and everything else that's happened to you since you were born. They're all running in the background underneath the surface, dictating exactly what your life looks like. And if you want to know what your programs say, look at your life and the key areas of your life. And so I started reading more about this and feeling like it's just such a powerful thing. And I'm spending 99% of my time focused on what to do on the surface when the current of the river is running in the wrong direction because of these subconscious programs. It's crazy. I should be spending more time focused on becoming the person that I want to be in my subconscious, in my identity and self image and belief system. And then the current of the river is going to be heading exactly in the right direction for me. And what I do on the surface in my boat is going to be pretty incidental. I might not even have to work quite as many hours, etc. And that's what I found. So in the past 7 years since I've started focusing on the subconscious mind, and also one step further back in terms of who you are as your spirit, right? Just how bright are you? You know, how much do you love life? How much do you love your business? How much do you love people? How open are you to receive love and joy, right? What's the point of having everything in the world if you can't feel love? You don't have an expanded capacity for that, right? So I feel like your spirit and your subconscious mind are going to do more to dictate the success and happiness that you have as an entrepreneur, creative business leader, as a human, than anything that you do on the surface. And yet we spend 99.8% of our time focused on surface level activities. And we spend very little time focused on expanding our spirit and aligning our subconscious mind and programming it properly in ways that we want. And so the last business that I ran, I really put those principles first. And we had a wild amount of success with it to the point where, you know, we're in a position where I don't really need to work anymore, ever. And I can do something that I think is really meaningful. And so I wrote a book about the principles of spirit and the subconscious mind and how I use those to be successful in business. And then I started a community to teach those things and to get people together who thought like-minded. And we have a daily huddle where we do a guided meditation and visualization together each day to kind of help rewire ourselves and feel love and feel good. And that's what I enjoy doing now, because I feel like if you're shining bright, your spirit is bright, and your subconscious mind is pointed in the direction you want it, life unfolds really beautifully and pretty easily. But if that's not the case, like if you're not bright, or your subconscious mind and your belief systems are pointed in the wrong direction, you could work your butt off trying to go in the other direction and you're not going to get there as easily or as well as you'd want to.
How do you measure, or how does one measure results in terms of, if they get involved in this? You said, you had wild results when you, I think, introduced it in your last company. I think it was Stream, probably.
Yeah.
How do you measure like that change? Like, is it just how you feel, or what does that look like?
Yeah, I think a lot of it's how you feel,
Okay.
asking people how successful they are. How well does your outer life reflect your vision for life? So, like, if you think about, well, what are the 5 key areas of your life? This is one of the things we do each month. We have a creative cycle. And the very first thing we think about is like, well, what are your 5 key areas of life? And what do they look like outside? And then how well does that reflect what you actually want? Like, are your finances as abundant as you would like them to be or not? Right? Is your relationship with your spouse or significant other or potential relationship, or how well are you going about finding that person? Like, is that part of your life, that partnership? Is it as good as you want it to be? If you have kids or parents who are a big part of your life, are those relationships as good as you want them to be? If you have a business, is it growing as fast as you would like it to be? Or is it as profitable as you would like it to be? Or generally, is it giving you as much fulfillment as you would like? What are you doing creatively? I assume it's entrepreneurship if you're listening to this, but do you feel like your creativity is that itch is being scratched? Because as humans, we're creative people, creative beings. And so, or your spirituality, like whatever that means to you, just how bright are you shining and how good do you feel? So I think if you ask somebody how well their external world reflected what they wanted in each of those areas, that would be a really good gauge of how successful their life is. And the people who keep showing up and doing this have had a lot of success in that sense. We try not to quantify it too much either. I mean, it's inherently pretty difficult to quantify.
Sure, I get it. And then just from the business side of this, is this more of like a passion project for you, or does this have some element of monetization too?
Yeah, it is. It's very much a passion project of mine. The business model is just a really simple subscription model. So we do this daily huddle every day for a half hour, Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern time. So think about it like CrossFit for your spirit and your subconscious mind. And so, I kind of believe this I have a strong belief in this. Like 50 years ago, there were no Barry's boot camp, there were no gyms, etc. And now it's just so obvious that we want to work out our physical bodies every day or very regularly, right? And there are an infinite number of ways to do that. But if we want to work out our spirit, like how much love we feel and enjoy, or if we want to work out our subconscious mind, which dictates literally how our life unfolds, there's no good way of doing it aside from maybe church, which is jump the shark for most people, or Alcoholics Anonymous. And you don't want to have to become an alcoholic to get this, right? So you like, how do you work out your spirit and your subconscious mind? And that's what we're creating. So we're creating 30 minutes. You show up, work out your spirit, rewire your subconscious mind, and then get on about your day. And that's what we do together.
Very cool. Wow.
And so the subscription model is it's $49 a month for unlimited access to those huddles, as well as unlimited access to the replays and the content and the community online. And people who enjoy it. We've had people who have shown up, almost every day for the past 2 years. We have people who do it for a month, go through one creative cycle with us, choose a goal, visualize it, become that person, let go of the blockers and limiting beliefs, and then get out of there after a month. And we have some people who show up for a day or two, and you can get a lot out of just that. So we're just going to be there every day for anybody who thinks that could be helpful for them in their spiritual or creative endeavors.
Sounds like a really cool community. I appreciate what you're doing. Hey, before I wrap up, I'd love to, you've had a lot of success. I love the way you articulate things. You are really clear in the way you articulate things. Your speech style is cool. What would you say to entrepreneurs that are out there? And you've already shared a ton, but if you could just maybe one or two more things for people that are struggling, for people that maybe are burned out, because that's a common thing, or feeling like they're not where they want to be at. Is there any like little words of wisdom that you could share in closing? And it can even be something you've already mentioned.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people. I mentioned this in the book that I wrote. It's called The Spiritual Operating System. But a lot of people are either not accomplishing what they want to accomplish in life, or they're barely accomplishing it, but they're doing it with a lot of strain and stress. And usually when that's the case, it's because either you aren't feeding your spirit consistently, you're not feeling love and feeling good. Like you can't wait until some imaginary end point or end accomplishment in order to feel great. That's not how it works. And it's a terrible waste of life. Don't wait till you sell your business or accomplish whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish, because I'll tell you, I sold my business and you don't change and you are more happy because of that for about 2 days. And then you go back to being who you are, either happy or unhappy. And so you might as well get happy now because it's going to help you. And that's your ultimate goal anyway, right? So feed your spirit. Make sure that you're feeling good every day. Find a way to do that, number one. Because when you're shining bright, you're going to enjoy life, and everything that you shine on is going to grow better. And number two, work on your subconscious mind, because if that area of your life doesn't reflect what you want and you've been working your butt off on it, it's because the programs that are running inside of you underneath the surface without your knowledge are programs that are giving you that output. And you can change those programs with just a little bit of visualization and some tools. And so figure out how to do that. There's a bunch of books on it, or you can come and join us in the mornings. And I would say that, yeah, for most people, they've tried a lot of how-tos, but try to use your subconscious mind to become the person who's successful in that area of life. And then your success will unfold pretty naturally, in my experience. And work on feeding your spirit and nurturing it so that you shine bright and feel good every day, regardless of what is going on outside of you.
Does cash flow have you down? Profit not where you think it should be? Maybe it's the long hours. Let's meet to see if I can help. I bridge driving the financial performance of your business to hit growth and success targets. Book a complimentary meeting at meetforgrowth.com to get started now. Once again, that's meetforgrowth.com. I look forward to talking with you. And thanks for listening to the show.
Work on feeding your spirit and nurturing it so that you shine bright and feel good every day, regardless of what is going on outside of you.
Very cool. I appreciate that. Hey, Troy, you're an awesome guest. Your website is dailysos.com. And then if people go there, is it basically, can they subscribe to anything? Or it sounds like you have a subscription, but can they get a newsletter or anything there too, as far as there anything special there?
Yeah, so they can sign up. We have a limiting belief buster, which is just a quick lesson. So if you feel like you might have a limiting belief in any area of your life, you can sign up. You can download that, which is a lesson and a worksheet that's actually pretty awesome, frankly. And you can join our community on School, which is a community where we all meet, and then you can join our huddle as often as you'd like as well. But if you go to dailysos.com, it shows you all the different options.
I loved when you said, if anyone has a limiting belief. The minute you said that, I said, and who doesn't, is what I was thinking in my head. We all do in some way or another, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being such a great guest. I loved, I feel like this could be multiple parts that we could continue to talk. I love you sharing about you and your wife, your strategy, your walks, and just leveraging off of each other, the success you've had with exiting one of your businesses in 18 months. And then, of course, the spiritual side, which I think gets glossed over. But to your point, like there's, Orange Theories everywhere. Why aren't there more things that we can feed our souls a little bit more?
Yeah, thanks, brother. Well, I really appreciate you having me, and really best wishes to everybody who's listening, and keep doing this good work. Thanks, Tyler.
Thanks, Troy. Take care. Okay, I'll talk with you soon.
Okay.
That's all for this episode of Think Business with Tyler. But we have plenty more resources to help you in your pursuit of business excellence on our website at thinktyler.com. If you'd like to be featured in a future episode of the show, feel free to reach out to us on social media at think_Tyler. We look forward to helping you think life, think success, and think business.
Electricast.